Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy. Without any further interruptions, enjoy the what if. Chapter 33. Round trip. Nojiko stood at the helm directly behind Naruto, watching his every move like a hawk. Don't be so tense, Naruto-kun, I'm not mad, she said, resting her hands on his shoulders, massaging them gently before planting a kiss on the back of his neck. It's not your fault. You were worried about us being turned to stone. How could you have been paying attention to the ship when you were focused on saving us? The good news is that I can get us further along our actual route in the Grand Line from where I take us on the calm belt, Naruto said, grateful that Nojiko or anyone else on the crew didn't hold any anger towards being knocked so far off course by the events of yesterday. The Horizon Kanai on One Finger Island is a really good status marker. I'll tell you when we get back on the calm belt so you can map out our trajectory to where we'll get back on at. Nojiko smiled and let go of Naruto, moving backwards off of him. Sounds like a plan to me. There's a good spot for us to use as a marker for getting onto the calm belt. She moved in front of Naruto and showed him a map of the South Blue. Right here, this place, Centauria. Like I told you this morning, we can use that as a good marker. It's the closest place to the calm belt, so we can begin getting back on our route from there. On it, Noji-chan, Naruto said as he already knew where to go. He had already been given coordinates and directions that morning and they had been en route for quite a while. We shouldn't take that long getting there. I've had the sails catching the breeze in this direction since last night basically. I actually feel really hungry because I'm using so much chakra. Nojiko rolled up the map and gave him a strange look. You're hungry? How could you be hungry? We just saw you inside not too long ago during breakfast. You absolutely killed it. In return, Naruto just gave her a blank stare. No. I've been out here all morning since the crack of dawn. I only got 2 hours of sleep last night and that was just so I could dry off from the rain. Tilting her head in confusion, Nojiko pointed back towards where the captain's quarters were situated. Seriously, I saw you at breakfast. You ate and then you went to take a nap with Miss Valentine. When I saw you out here I just figured you stayed there until she fell asleep and then came back outside. Nojiko looked around in suspicion. This is really creepy. Naruto just stood there racking his brain for a solution before his eyes finally widened in realization prior to narrowing to slits. He set the wheel in place and grabbed a hold of Nojiko. Come on, I think I know what happened. With that they disappeared in a flash of yellow and reappeared in Naruto's room at the foot of his bed to find another Naruto asleep with Miss Valentine holding on to him. I fucking knew it, Naruto hissed out in a whisper. The clone of Naruto cracked an eye before both shot open in alarm at seeing its creator and Nojiko, one giving it an angry look, the other one extremely amused. Hey boss, Noji-chan. What's up? The clone whispered, well aware of the sleeping Valentine wrapped around him. You ate my food, Naruto said in a low voice. The only reason I made you when I woke back up this morning was to leave a message for Polly. What do you think you're doing? Naruto's clone shrugged, not really caring about its fate at this point. I like to call it living the dream. The only response at first was a cracking of knuckles from the original Naruto. I wish I could do this more than once, he said before punching the clone hard enough to dispel it in a puff of smoke. Miss Valentine barely noticed the loss of the clone's presence and compensated by grabbing a pillow on the bed in place. Man, that looks comfortable though, he said in reference to sleeping in a bed with a pretty girl. Before he could move to actually attempt to join her, his stomach growled horribly. But I'm so hungry, and I can't go back to sleep yet. I've got work to do. Feeling compassion when it came to all three of Naruto's current grievances, Nojiko merely grabbed him by his hand and led him out of the room to the common area. Come on, let's see if we can find you some leftovers or something to actually eat, and maybe some coffee too. Coffee, Naruto said in a questioning voice as he blocked a yawn. What's coffee? XXX. 4 hours later, Johnny and Yosaku leaned against the tree-like main mast, covered in scratches and scuffs and panting heavily. No more, Johnny said, waving his hand out in front of him. That was just, I don't even know how to explain what just happened to us, he said before leaning his head back with a thud on the mast. Yosaku tried to stand up but just didn't feel like he had it in him to do so due to his lack of energy at the moment. I now know what it feels like to get my ass kicked in fast forward. In front of them, Naruto was swinging a very satisfied Samahata, full from draining Johnny and Yosaku's energy in battle, about in a grandiose samurai manner, while in the background Nojiko, Vivi, Polly, and Soren stood watching him act out, like all of his manic quirks decided to just come out all at once. God, that was violent, Polly said in reference to how Naruto had just handily dispatched both Johnny and Yosaku with Samahata. Were they paying attention when they came out here to challenge him? I'm not getting near that guy until his buzz dies, he said, taking a puff from his cigar. Soren merely stared at the scene while sucking on a tangerine from the tree outside. He then turned towards Nojiko, who was hiding her face with her hands. You gave him coffee, didn't you? His answer was a desperate moan from Nojiko that said she had, as if he needed it. Why do you think none of us ever turned him on to the stuff? I love coffee, Naruto shouted, holding Samahata over his head as it vibrated in agreement with its user. It's like a black, liquidy soldier pill. He then pointed Samahata at Vivi, who took an involuntary step back. Vivi-heim, get out here, it's your turn. Said princess simply shook her head. No, it's time for your training though. He reasoned, re-sealing Samahata. Vivi laughed nervously as she continued to step backwards. I think I'll take the day off today. She then noticed him giving her a dry look. You're not giving me a choice, are you? Naruto shook his head. No, I didn't think you were. Vivi quickly pulled off her ranged jewelry belt weapon and sent the end of it out, stabbing into the mast to allow herself to escape up the side. Naruto growled and pointed up at the young woman. You're not getting away that easily. He prepared to run up the mast when he found a rope tied around his legs, tripping him up and holding him back. He turned to see that Polly had caught him with one of his ropes and tied him to the railing. Why wasn't I paying attention to that? Because you trust us, Polly explained to him before flicking his tensed rope. You can't break that rope with brute force, you'd just end up ripping the railing up before you broke the rope. Even cutting it would take a while. So just calm down until you get all of the caffeine out of your system. You're scaring more than a few of us. The caffeine was strong, however. Naruto jerked against the rope several times before the urge to go into sage mode, or even further than that to free himself, had to be quelled before he did damage to his own ship. He took a series of deep breaths to calm himself down. Okay, I'm cool, everything's alright. You can come down now, Vivi-heim. Hearing him say that, Vivi dropped to the ground but kept a good distance away from Naruto as she jumped back almost 10 feet when Naruto twitched intensely. Naruto, you're scaring me. I think I'm scaring me too, Naruto replied honestly before he found himself dog-piled by a vengeful Johnny and Yosaku, who began stomping away at a downed Naruto while they had their advantage over him. What the hell are you guys doing? Naruto asked over the blows raining down upon him. You've been kicking our asses for the better part of a year, Johnny said as he stomped away. We are never going to get a chance like this to get you back ever again. Yosaku jumped into the air for 3 elbow drops on the immortal blonde while Johnny kept stomping. It's justifiable vengeance, Yosaku reasoned, relishing in getting Naruto back. Ow, Naruto shouted due to the attack on his person. You know I'm going to get you two back for this, right? Ow, I'm going to get you both back so bad. Johnny and Yosaku stopped and looked at each other before looking back down at Naruto. We don't care. They both yelled simultaneously before dropping simultaneous jumping elbows on Naruto. The other crewmates just watched until Soren finished his tangerine and climbed up on the banister, about to jump off until Nojiko grabbed his pant leg. What the hell do you think you're doing? She asked the acid-spitting former bounty hunter. Soren pointed down at Naruto. How many other chances am I going to get to do this and get away with it? He asked. Naruto heard him over his beatdown and yelled up at him. You won't get away with it. That's not the point, Uzumaki. Soren yelled down to him. He then turned back to Nojiko. Tell me that one time of them getting him back isn't worth the last ton of months of him getting one over on them, and me. Nojiko thought of all of the times when Naruto increased their weights without warning, beat them up during training, times that he just threw seawater on Soren, and everything else, prompting her to let go of Soren's leg. Thank you, he said calmly before pointing down at Naruto. Sweet, sweet revenge. Soren cried out before diving off of the banister down onto Naruto with an elbow drop, Tekai elbow drop. Everyone else flinched when Soren hit the ground and Naruto with a solid thud. Naruto just lay there as Soren got up and the punishment ended. I'm going to get all 3 of you back for this, Naruto muttered as Soren spit acid on the rope keeping his ankles tied. You guys are so dead when I figure out what I'm going to do to get you back. He said, crawling on the ground towards the helm to wait for the feeling to come back to his legs. Yosaku looked at Naruto crawling away, stopping at the stairs to the helm to turn and glare at all of them, making the hand sign that he's watching them. We're going to pay for that, aren't we? Oh hell yes, Johnny replied, not really concerned in the least with what could happen to him in the near future, but tell me that it wasn't worth whatever he'll do to get us back. I don't know yet, Yosaku said honestly, picking his nose absently. I'll tell you after it happens. XXX. Later that evening, Centauria, on the shores of the island nation, a sentry posted as a lookout of sorts saw a strange orange ship based off of the design of the basic ship of the Marines, so they sent scouts out here to prepare to counter the rebellion. One of the men with him as his partner let out a laugh. Ha! I didn't know the Marines were that stupid. Don't they know it's too late for that? They can't save their precious world government's hold on this island. We've already gotten rid of their representatives. We should tell our commander. He'll want to make an example out of them. To not stand against the Revolutionary Army. With that declaration the men all chattered in agreement. XXX. On board the natural disaster, Naruto was still manning the helm, only now he had Murat checking over the wounds that she had come outside to heal a few hours earlier after the caffeine incident. I swear I never get over how fast you heal, Naruto-sama. You should still have a face covered in scrapes. I'm fine. Naruto insisted, the ship's medic. You don't need to waste supplies on me, Murat. I don't think I'll ever be so far gone that I'll need you to get yourself in gear to help me out or I'll die. The worry was nice, but he didn't need her all stressed out for nothing when he could get over most of his injuries in a day or two. Murat in return gave him a dry look and gave Naruto a few pats on his cheek. You gave me 1 million belly, up front, without even a second thought, and you still pay for things when I don't need you to. Like it or not, you've pretty much got my loyalty for life. I'm a doctor to the entire crew, and I treat everyone equally, not selectively. She finished with a smile. So you say that you work for me? Naruto asked her, getting a cheerful nod in response. Could I get you to drug Johnny, Yosaku, and Soren's food during the next meal? Nothing serious, I just need their awareness thrown off so I can get the drop on them. They beat the crap out of me. Murat gave Naruto a serious look. I'm not going to stick drugs in my patient's food, Naruto-sama. Murat heard Naruto mutter, damn it, getting her lips to quirk upwards. I can just give you the drugs to do it yourself. That cheered Naruto back up, and that works for me. Uzumaki, hearing the voice of one of the people he had intentions of getting revenge on yelling down from the lookout point at him, Naruto looked out over the waters to his side to see 4 ships heading from the coast they were passing by. What's the plan? Soren asked from the crow's nest. Naruto grabbed a nearby pair of binoculars and looked at the ships. They didn't look like any kind of marine vessel, nor were they flying any pirate colors. He didn't feel like fighting an unknown quantity today for no reason. Naruto simply sat at his bench at the helm and formed the ram seal to begin forming chakra. They can't fire at us unless they're broadside. We're just going to speed back up and hop on into the calm belt from here. We'll lose them that way. With that, a breeze started waving through the leaves of the tree-like mast and through the sails with the seals inscribed in them, speeding up the ship even further. The natural disaster simply tore right past the slow-moving ships making their way out from the coast, unable to get into range to turn their cannons towards the Foxhound pirate ship. XXX. With the Revolutionary Army, the men on the ships attempting to pursue and engage the natural disaster were utterly stunned at the pure speed that the ship exhibited. That ship is so fast. The current isn't nearly strong enough to get that kind of speed, neither is the wind. We're right by the calm belt. That is one funky-looking marine ship. The comments ran rampant on all 4 ships until one spotter pointed something out coming from the coast further down the island. Look, that's Dragon's ship. Right there. Yeah, Dragon. He'll stop those government dogs. XXX. On board the natural disaster, one more ship coming, Uzumaki. Soren yelled down from the crow's nest as he saw a ship with a figurehead that appeared to be a dragon. It's going to cut us off. Get ready for a fight. We're not fighting, Naruto said as he stood up and started making a long chain of hand seals. Sweden. Daibakufu no Jutsu, water release. Great waterfall jutsu. A massive wave rose 50 feet in the air at the side of the natural disaster, surprising Murat, who hadn't seen Naruto's powers up close before, not even at Eni's lobby. "Wow," was all that the medic could say. Up in the crow's nest, Soren released a sweat drop and stared at the wave with a twitching eye. "Tell me again how this doesn't qualify as fighting." "This is why," Naruto said as he directed the wave to crash down a distance away from the dragon figure-headed ship, making sure that all that occurred was the ship losing its momentum so that they didn't catch up with the natural disaster, and there you go. "No fighting necessary." "That was impressive," an unfamiliar voice said on board the ship, getting Naruto to turn around and stand in front of Murat protectively as she held her hand on Funkfried just in case. "I don't think you caused an earthquake the way Whitebeard would have to do that, because his would have been bigger. You manipulated the water itself. Most devil fruit powers can't do that." Naruto narrowed his eyes at the strange man on his ship leaning against the banister nearby with a sinister grin on his face. "I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I just want to get to the calm belt," Naruto explained calmly. The man wore a long green cloak and had spiky black hair with a widow's peak of sorts. He had stubble on his face, no eyebrows, and a set of red tribal markings on the left side of his face. "Who are you?" He didn't even bother asking how he got there. Naruto could have done the same thing to any of the other ships himself. "Well, that depends," the man said, his grin never dropping. "Most people call me the world's most dangerous criminal, but you don't look like a Marine. My men should have been paying attention to the fact that you fly a Jolly Roger." He then pointed to himself. "In that case you can call me Dragon." Murat paled and took a step back, her hands shaking as she drew Funkfried from the sheath. "What do you want with us?" Dragon merely laughed and stepped off of the banister, taking a step forward. "I didn't want anything other than to meet the new bane of the world government. You're quite an infamous man, Uzumaki Naruto. You don't look much like a butcher that delights in killing Marines though." The silence emanating from Naruto started scaring Murat as she thought Naruto was intimidated. I've never seen Naruto-sama hesitate to speak to anyone before. "Is he frightened?" Naruto finally spoke up, a chuckle in his voice. "I was thinking of something witty to say, but I just can't think of anything. All I can think about is how much I want to fight a guy like you to see how strong I really am." "That probably sounds really weird, doesn't it? Are you really that insane?" Murat and Soren both thought to themselves, hearing Naruto pretty much challenging the most dangerous man in the world to a fight. Soren wondered where on earth all of the others were. Was Dragon really able to get on board without alerting anyone to his presence? He only knew Naruto as someone that would have been able to pull that off. "Actually yeah," Dragon said, sounding amused at Naruto's confession. "It does sound very weird that you would want to fight me. Hell, first no Marine vice admirals that don't want to fight me, and they actually have a reason to." He let out a laugh. "But I can't fight you, mostly because we'd probably destroy your nice ship in the process and maybe hurt your nakama," he said, nodding his head towards Murat, who was still pretty scared. "And I still have a lot of work to do. The world government isn't going to overthrow itself." Naruto blinked as he thought about who Dragon was. "That's why you're so famous, because you're taking control away from the world government." Dragon nodded. "Yes, we've just now gotten Centauria free of their control. It took 2 years of fighting to do." A frown came onto Naruto's face. "So you start insurrections and make wars happen?" The blonde shinobi shook his head. "I don't agree with that." He saw the grin drop from Dragon's face. "If you keep pushing like that, then the world government is going to push back hard. I just saw them take out an entire island filled with their own agents and Marines just to kill my crew and Straw Hat Luffy's crew. What would they do when you start knocking on their front door the way we did?" The two stared each other down for a moment before Dragon's grin came back. "So you know my boy Luffy? I like that. He needs a friend like you out in the world." He then saw Murat and Naruto's eyes widen. "Ooh, I wasn't supposed to say that out loud. Could you just keep that a secret?" He saw Naruto and Murat both nod slowly. "Thanks. No problem." They both responded robotically. Dragon then looked out over the front of Naruto's ship where he saw the waves start to end. "Well, I'd love to chat with you for a bit longer, but you seem to be headed into the calm belt and I just don't feel like going that far. I've got to stay with my men." Naruto and Murat turned and looked at how far they had gotten from the rest of the ships around Centauria before Naruto started fishing around in the pockets of his vest, turning back around to Dragon holding a Hiraishin kunai. I can just take. He turned to find Dragon no longer there. Where'd he go? Soren, where'd he go? Soren looked down and scratched his head under his bandana. I've got no idea, Uzumaki. I was looking at Centauria. I wasn't keeping an eye on the guy. He's really fast, Murat said rather fearfully. I'm just as fast as he is. Naruto replied, looking over at the ships that were getting further away on the horizon, and I just met another person that's supposed to be one of the strongest men in the world. He smirked. You know, I still really want to fight him. Isn't that messed up? A frown then came over his face. I don't like the way he's trying to deal with the world government though, but someone like that isn't going to listen to someone like me. After letting silence settle for a moment, Murat let out a huge sigh and dropped to her backside on the deck. I just came face to face with the revolutionary dragon. I really don't think I'll ever get used to being on this ship. Naruto then frowned and stomped his foot on the deck angrily. Damn it, I can't even call Luffy and tell him. I promised that I wouldn't tell anyone that I knew he was Luffy's dad. I didn't even know Luffy had parents. Who has to get together to create a guy like Luffy? Naruto scratched his scalp. Luffy's got the weirdest family members. XXX. 2 days later, the Den Den Mushi belonging to the crew, complete with having its shell painted in crew colors of orange and blue with the crew Jolly Roger emblazoned on it in the common area, was steadily ringing off of the hook, eventually finding itself answered by Miss Valentine. Hello, she said, flipping herself over a nearby couch to lay down while she was talking. Where is Uzumaki, Naruto? The voice on the other line said to her, getting straight to the point. Miss Valentine said in procrastination to the rather impatient-sounding voice. That's not the kind of tone you use when you want someone to do something for you. The right thing to say would have been, if it isn't any trouble, could you let me speak to Uzumaki, Naruto? I would have also accepted anything with the word please in it as an answer. She said, a bright smile on her face as she let out a small laugh. It was so much fun messing with strangers, much more fun than messing with her friends. She could hear the voice growl at her on the other line, and she had to take her mouth away from the receiver to keep from laughing into the line and pissing the person off even more. If she was going to upset him, then she wanted to make it more challenging for herself than just laughing at him. The gruff voice tried to regain his composure before trying again. Is Uzumaki Naruto there or not? I was told that this was how to reach him besides the other more direct way. Miss Valentine looked at her nails, pondering whether or not she had time to paint them and finish before she could get this guy to lose his cool and hang up. Naruto, well, he might be here. Then again, he might not be. He has a habit of jumping ship and showing back up whenever he wants to in the blink of an eye. For all I know, he could be 100 miles away or right in his room. I'm not feeling quite up for getting up to check though. His room is a long walk, she said, looking directly at the door that Naruto's quarters sat behind, not even 10 feet from where she was laying down at. All right, I've had it up to here with you, woman. Uzumaki or not, if you don't tell me where he is, I don't care who you are to him, I will find you and turn you into a chew toy, do you understand? Tell Uzumaki that Jabura of CP9 is asking for him. CP9. Oh, that just made this all the more fun for her. She didn't even care how they got this number. They had tried to kill her and her friends and haul her former boss Nico Robin off to impel down. She opened her mouth, about to come up with something to really piss the guy off, when she heard a voice that stopped her. Who are you talking to on the Den Den Mushi, Valentine-chan? Miss Valentine leaned her head back on the arm of the couch and looked up bullishly at Naruto, who was standing over her looking down with a curious look on his face. A smile slowly broke out on Miss Valentine's face as they both heard the Den Den Mushi rant in the place of the person on the end of the line. Her bright green eyes shone with amusement as she handed the receiver over to Naruto. Someone for you, she said cheekily. Naruto rolled his eyes and took it from her. Hey, what are you doing talking to the CP9 anyway? Naruto forced her to scoot over on the couch so that he could sit down and begin speaking. This is Uzumaki, Naruto. It took long enough for you guys to call. I didn't think you would ever try to get in contact with me. I was getting ready to chalk that one up as a loss. Jabura's voice on the other end noticeably calmed down as it began to speak to Naruto. Yeah, well, we ran into a few misadventures. We had to leave St. Poplar because we wound up annihilating a stupid group of pirates that went there to start trouble. Then we went home. You guys have a home? Naruto asked incredulously. Well, it made sense. Everyone had to come from somewhere, so why would CP9 be any different? Never mind, what's going on now? Keep me in the loop here. Well, we've got a ship, Jabura said, seeming like he didn't know what to say from there, and that's pretty much it. Lucci's all healed up, and he wants to go after Spandam. He's not dead, but your boy with the acid pretty much melted tons of his skin off. That's what we heard anyway. Naruto leaned back in the couch as Miss Valentine put her head on his shoulder and yawned. You're not going to find Spandam anytime soon. And is Lucci there with you right now? He asked, not really waiting for a response. I don't care, I hope he is, because he's an idiot for telling Spandam that you guys were still alive. Miss Valentine couldn't help but laugh at Naruto calling out CP9's strongest member. Now he's going to send someone after you to cover his own tracks and keep himself clean of everything that happened at Eni's lobby. I thought you guys were assassins. You don't tell your target you're coming. Silence reigned over the line for a moment before Jabura spoke up again. Yeah, Lucci wants to kill you now for that crack you made about him. Tell him to get in line. Naruto quipped dryly, putting an arm around Miss Valentine. Just keep in touch. Remember that you can call me anytime, and don't abuse the Hiraishin Kunai or summon me for something stupid. I'll call you guys sooner than later for more. Got it, Uzumaki. And with that the phone call ended. Miss Valentine turned her eyes towards Naruto's blue ones and decided to ask the question that her gaze was already doing for her. So why are you in contact with CP9? Why are you even helping them? They tried to kill the Straw Hats, remember? You tried to kill me, remember? Naruto replied before giving her a kiss on the forehead, and Spandam was the one of them that I had the most problem with. We have the same guy as a target, only they're actively seeking him. They're doing my job for me so that I don't go off looking for a ghost. If I find Spandam, I'll just tell them and they can handle him. Then they'll owe me. Understanding what he was trying to do, give the CP9 a purpose and get himself some form of allies, Miss Valentine nodded. You've got friends in low places, Naruto. You've got a group of assassins almost at your beck and call. A nod came from her fellow blonde. You say that like it's a bad thing, Valentine-chan. XXX, sometime later, are you sure you want to fight me? Soren asked Nojiko as he stood across from her on the portion of the deck cleared for training outside. I won't go easy on you the way Uzumaki does. I can lower my acid level enough to keep it from being fatal, but might end up ruining the fabric of the pretty little designer clothes you prance around in. A smirk then came over his face. I might get a free show out of this if I'm feeling mean, you know. Nojiko merely stepped into her waiver skates and smacked her heels together to kickstart them, levitating her right off of the ground. First of all, I don't prance, she said with a dangerous lift in her voice as she drew her pistols from her holsters. Second of all, I never asked you to go easy on me. And third of all, she twirled her pistols around on her fingers before grabbing a tight hold of them. You have to hit me first to worry about doing anything to my clothes. I don't know where you're getting all of your. Soren then stopped what would have been a smart-ass remark as he could see how confident she was and could only draw one real conclusion as to why she would be about fighting him, even in a spar. Crap, you can use those things the right way now, can't you? Nojiko said cheerfully. I called Nami for advice because she has an actual waiver. It turns out all I needed was a delicate touch. So what? Mobility was only half of the battle. She still had to be able to do him damage to beat him. Just so I know, how many special element shots can you do now? Soren asked her aloud out of curiosity. More, Nojiko said with a grin forming on her face. Way more. But don't worry, I can't use the earth, lightning, or water elements yet. Just wind and fire. She finished with a wink. You're lucky. I don't feel lucky, Soren muttered, slapping himself across the face to psyche himself up. You inherited Uzumaki's mean streak, didn't you? Prior to a fight he just had to get in one jab, no matter how bad the outcome might be. I guess all that sex with him had to benefit you in some other way, huh? And as he saw Nojiko give him an emotionless look as she put up her pistols and pulled her shotgun from her back, he felt that he would wind up paying for that sometime before they called an end to the spar, because it wouldn't be his choice when they stopped. Meanwhile, Naruto stood at the helm as he could hear Nojiko's shotgun ring out with a shot that made Soren shriek like a girl. I hope he dodged that, he said to himself. If Nojiko was really that much stronger with her new skills, then maybe he didn't have to get Soren back himself, maybe Nojiko would do it for him. He turned around and looked up in the air to see Vivi fighting in the branches of the tree-like masts against Polly, using his ropes against her sharp jewel weapons. Vivi was definitely coming along, and he knew that Polly wasn't necessarily weak in his own right after the short fight they had at Water 7. As fast as it looked that Vivi would cut through his ropes, he would seemingly come up with even more to keep himself in the air and counterattack with. Naruto had to wonder where he kept all of the rope. Things were moving along smoothly. They were right on track to not only get back on their route on the Grand Line towards Constellation Island, but to jump further ahead than their original route would have set them on. So with getting knocked off course combined with cutting their original route in half, they were right back on schedule. They were able to totally bypass the Florian Triangle on the way as well to boot. Who cared that they were cutting through the calm belt to get there? That was why the bottom of the ship was lined with sea stone and why it was so valuable, so that they could do things like that. Naruto didn't know that the ship he commandeered from Kami Island would be so valuable when he took it. He was glad he seemed to have such an eye for useful things. Soren, what? You're fucking firing away with the shotgun, scaring the hell out of me. How am I supposed to keep control over the acid level like that when I think I'm going to die? Naruto turned around to find Nojiko floating on her waver skates glaring at Soren because apparently he had gotten a hit in on Nojiko with one of his attacks and had managed to disintegrate her top, leaving her in a black bra. The acid-spitting man crossed his arms and turned away indignantly with a scoff. I'm a grown man. You act like I've never seen boobs before. You've still got the bra, so shut up and fight. He then started dancing as small fireballs were fired at his feet. Nojiko was steadily firing at Soren, having switched weapons to her faster default guns, her pistols, using regular ammunition to save her chakra for the moment. Stop moving, damn it. How's that not being crazy thing working for you, Noji-chan? Naruto asked her loudly in amusement. Being mad isn't the same thing as being crazy, Naruto-kun. Nojiko snapped back at him as she reloaded her guns before returning her attention to fighting Soren. Yes, he certainly did have an eye for useful things, and crazy things, and pretty things too. Sometimes all of them rolled up into one. At that moment he felt a familiar pull in the back of his mind over a long distance. Someone had thrown his Hiraishin kunai, and no one bothered trying to call first either, so it was an emergency. Setting the wheel in place, Naruto jumped between Soren and Nojiko's duel and stopped their fighting with his presence. I've got to go. You guys know the drill for how to run things while I'm gone, right? Both of them nodded, seeing how serious he was. Good. I'll be back soon, okay? He gave Nojiko a kiss and disappeared in a yellow flash. I wonder what's wrong. Nojiko wondered, touching her lips where Naruto had just kissed her. I've never seen him look that serious before leaving before. Soren just grunted. We'll find out when he gets back. Just don't worry about it, he said, putting a hand on the despondent young woman's shoulder. You want to shoot at me again? It might make you feel better, he offered, getting a slow nod from Nojiko. Okay, let's get back to shooting me. Hit me if you can. XXX. Moments prior. With Straw Hat Crew, one large trap for their ship and crew led to the Straw Hat Crew being stuck in the middle of the largest ship in the entire world. A rather eerie ship that had set up shop in the Florian Triangle, a place notorious for losing entire ships and crews. Well, they soon found out that much of this was because of the efforts of Gecko Mariah, a man using the reputation of the area to trap victims for his own purposes, to build an army of zombies. It also didn't help that the man was supposed to be a Shichibukai. The entire ship Thriller Bark was an island converted into a ship and thus had things like dead forests, a graveyard, a morbid mansion and all sorts of things, as well as around 1,000 inhabitants, mostly zombies under Gecko Mariah's control. And the strongest one had currently taken the full measure of most of the Straw Hats and had left them defeated. He was 4 times the size of a regular giant and had long blonde hair that flowed from his head to his back with 2 large horns on the top of his head. He had a massive underbite with large fangs and even tusks, as well as only one eye. His body had stitches all over, especially around his stomach where a blue cloth was placed. He wore a large black loincloth with 3 giant skulls strapped to a rope to hold it up. On the ground, beaten up right at his feet, lay Frankie, Usopp, Chopper, Sanji, Zoro, Robin, and a strange skeleton with an afro wearing a formal suit. Ugh! The massive creature groaned as it looked at wanted posters of the Straw Hats taped to his arm. Let's see who's left. The Straw Hat guy from earlier, some orange-haired girl, and the superhero. Why are those three missing? The giant wondered as he scratched his head. He then shrugged carelessly and began tearing apart the mansion right by him with his fists, trying to find Nami, Luffy, and Usopp, who he had already defeated without really knowing. Meanwhile, Robin weakly lifted her head to see the giant destroying everything to find the remaining two members he had yet to defeat. She fished through her clothes and managed to pull out Naruto's Hiraishin kunai, staring at it intensely. As much as I don't want to bother you to ask you for help, I think we could use it right about now. She looked over the downed and wounded crewmates that were there with her. Yeah, we could probably use it. She then took aim at the giant and threw it as hard as she could. The kunai stuck itself in the giant's fist just as it was throwing another punch to destroy another wall of the massive mansion. Robin only let her head lay back down so that she could take some time to rest so that she and the others could get up to fight again soon. I really hope you can help us, Naruto. XXX. With the Hiraishin kunai, in a flash of yellow, Naruto appeared in a pile of rubble, picking his kunai up out of the wreckage. Man who threw this thing hard enough to take out a wall. He then saw a few figures running down the hall he found himself in. Oi! What's going on around here? Who summoned me? A group of animal hybrid zombies stopped just as a younger girl wearing red lipstick and gothic eyeliner with pink hair in two high pigtails did. She had a red crown on the top of her head, wore black and white stockings that went all the way up her legs. She also wore red buckled boots, a red mini skirt with white stars, a white long-sleeved shirt, and a red fabric covering her shoulders. She turned her big round eyes towards Naruto and stomped on the ground in a small fit. What are you doing, you idiot? The giant ores is going to squish us all if we don't get out of here. Giant what? Naruto asked her with a tilted head. Look, have you seen a guy with a straw hat or anyone with him? They're friends of mine. They should have been the ones that called me. I need to know why I'm here and what I'm supposed to do to help out. Distracted from her impending doom from the rampaging giant momentarily by how she thought the way Naruto looked when he was confused was cute, the girl snapped out of it once she heard that the crew that was causing Thriller Bark so much trouble and had defeated her were friends with this guy. I wasn't going to steal the Straw Hats ship to get off of this island. What gave you that crazy idea? She said before laughing nervously. You did, Naruto said with a deadpan look. Can you help me find them or not? He didn't have time to sit here with this girl. He couldn't see any of his friends around and he knew that they wouldn't have called him for nothing to a place like this. Get me off of Thriller Bark and we'll see. The girl persisted, really wanting to run away from the ship. You don't get it. Ors is taking this whole place out looking for a girl. I'm a girl. She started bawling uncontrollably as the zombies around her tried to console her. I'm too cute to die. What's an Ors? Naruto asked, not really getting the gist of what they were talking about. I think I'm missing a huge chunk of what your point is supposed to be, he said, trailing off to get her name. My name is Perona, she yelled, stomping over to Naruto, and Ors is the giant looking for a girl. Now get me out of here, Mr. Straw Hat friend. All of those straw hats were really strong. They had to have strong friends too, didn't they? Especially if this guy was insisting that they called him here to help them out. Naruto looked around the empty, but ruined hallway and shrugged. What giant? At that point a giant face appeared looking upside down through the hole in the wall, staring at Naruto and Perona with one good eye, having been attracted by the racket Perona had been making. Oh, that giant. He then looked back at the shaking Perona who was crying anime tears at this point. Do you care where I take you as long as it's out of Thriller Bark? Just get me out of here, this is way too much. Perona whimpered, staring directly into the one eye of Ors. I really don't care. I was planning on getting out of here anyway. This place is done for. Naruto nodded. Good to know. He then dropped his Hiraishin kunai on the ground and grabbed Perona, disappearing in a flash of yellow just as a massive hand reached inside to grab a hold of them both. XXX. On board the natural disaster, Naruto and Perona landed on his bed with Naruto jumping up immediately and setting himself to work. Where are we? She asked, looking around frantically. How did we get here so fast? She tried to get Naruto to explain to her as she saw him throw his headband onto the ground. Don't worry about that, Naruto said as he started pacing around the room, pulling out a scroll and unraveling it before making a cage bunshin to sit on it and begin meditating. The original then started stretching his arms out to get ready for a fight. I'll take you back there after it's all over. No, Perona yelled, jumping off of the bed and latching herself around his legs. Don't take me back there. Oars is going to kill everybody. Naruto rolled his eyes and pried the younger girl off of his legs. Calm down, go outside, say I got you out of wherever we just were. You can stay here until I handle that oars thing. Just be good and don't bother my clone, alright? Now let go unless you want to go back with me. That got Perona off of him in a flash. She didn't want anything to do with going back there. Naruto then let out a desperate sigh. I can already tell that I'm going to hate fighting this fight, he said before waving goodbye to Perona and vanishing with the Hiraishin no Jutsu. Perona just stared at where Naruto had once been and blinked. Wow, that was pretty cool. She then frowned at the clone that was steadily meditating. Too bad he's going to die though. Nobody can beat oars. Perona decided to go outside and see just where in the world she was. Oh well, let's see where this is. XXX Thriller bark. Naruto reappeared right back in the same spot he had vanished from moments before, only there was no oars staring dead at him. Naruto picked up his Hiraishin kunai and ran towards the hole in the wall, looking out to see most of the Straw Hat Pirates down below, minus Nami and Luffy, bringing a satisfied grin to his face. Oi! What's up you guys? I'm here. He only saw them staring up at him as if they had seen a ghost. Naruto jumped out of the upper story of the mansion to the courtyard below and walked over the rubble to greet them since the giant didn't seem to be anywhere in sight. The first thing he noticed was that they all looked pretty beaten up. You all look beat the hell up. What ran you guys over? It was at that moment that he noticed that no one had any snappy comeback or remark to his appearance, but they were still looking up behind him from the spot he had jumped down from. What the hell are you guys looking at? At that moment, oars crashed down on the ground behind Naruto on his stomach, facing his back in the front of all the present Straw Hat Pirates. Robin merely pointed at the ugly visage of the giant that was breathing directly down Naruto's back. That's what we're looking at. Naruto didn't even bother turning around as he could already feel the giant's hot breath on the back of his person. So is anyone going to tell me what's going on here? He asked as he flexed his fingers into and out of tensed fists. Yeah, Sanji said, smoking a cigarette just as calmly as Naruto seemed to be at the moment, something that Zoro and Robin shared. We're fighting that thing. All of the others nodded in agreement. Thanks, Naruto said sarcastically. I couldn't have figured that one out on my own. XXX On board the natural disaster, Perona walked outside and marveled at the appearance of the ship that the blonde guy brought her to. Wow, this is a really nice ship. I think I'll take it. There aren't even that many people here, she said as she then came upon the rest of the crew that had been outside. Alright, if you would all just hand over this ship, everything will be fine. Soren and Nojiko stopped fighting, and even Vivi and Polly dropped down from their mid-air battle to stare at the strange girl. Soren and Nojiko looked at each other before Soren spoke up. Exactly who the hell are you? What's with people just showing up on our ship? He mused quietly. Nojiko had a frown marring her pretty face as she could only assume there was one reason that this girl was here. Yeah, I think Naruto-kun is going to have a serious story to tell when he gets back. Perona was beginning to get impatient with the crew talking amongst themselves. Are you going to give me the ship or not? Nojiko, Soren, Polly, and Vivi all gave her a deadpan look as they got into their respective fighting stances against Perona. Nojiko pointing her pistols at her while levitating off of the ground with her waver skates. Soren with his acid nails set in a steaming haze rising off of his body. Vivi holding her sharp-ranged weapons, and Polly ready to produce his ropes from his clothing. How about not? They all said simultaneously. Perona balked at seeing all of them ready for a fight. Now that she was able to get a closer look, she had to say that none of them looked weak. Maybe she should have behaved like that other guy told her to in the first place. Who the hell is this? She heard voices as from behind her as Johnny and Yosaku came walking out as well to surround her on both sides. She was probably better off at Thriller Bark. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as well as checking out the author on fanfiction.net.